Hey, what is up guys? David Zhao here, and today we're gonna look at 5 ways to light a scene with just a single light. And sorry if I look a little tired, I just jumped out of a plane this morning, so... But yes, if you've got a single good video light with some modifiers, you can do a whole lot with just a single light. And to demonstrate today, we're gonna be using SmallRig's brand new RC 450B. If you're going to have just one light, this would be a great light to have. It packs a max output of 126,000 lumens, rivaling the Aputure 600X, which comes in at twice the price at $2,000. It has a color temperature range between 2700 Kelvin and 6500 Kelvin, and overall it's packed with some great features and is a competitive entry at a great price point. SmallRig sent this out to me to take a look at, and I'll be sharing my opinions with you throughout this video on what I think of it. Alright, now let's jump into 5 ways to light a scene with one light. The first lighting scenario is the Swiss Army knife of lighting setups to shoot any type of talking head scene, also called flat lighting. Whether it's for YouTube A-roll talking shots or an interview shot, you can't go wrong with throwing a light on a stand, raise it above the subject, throw on a large softbox on a grid, and place it either directly above the camera or just slightly off to the side. You're gonna end up with a pleasant, low contrast beauty look without being too dramatic. The second lighting scenario is called Rembrandt lighting, which gets its name from its namesake, the Dutch painter. It's most easily recognizable by the pattern of shadow it casts, primarily the triangle spot of light on the shadowed side of the face. It's a great way to light your subject for medium or close-up shots like talking heads, but in a way that creates a bit more drama and contrast. It's a great lighting setup for both narrative pieces and casual pieces like this. Similar to the flat lighting setup, you're going to want to throw this light high up on a stand, typically at a 45 to 90 degree angle to one side of your subject, and angle downwards to get the desired shadows. I like to use a large softbox and grid to soften the light while containing any spill off to make the light more directional. And if you feel like the shot has too much contrast, you can always add a fill light on the darker side of the face, or even use a shiny reflector like this one if you don't have a second light. The third lighting scenario definitely veers deeper into the realm of cinematic and creatively intentional lighting. You're going to want to use this a lot more for the sake of telling a story than you are simply to light a subject for typical content. But this, my friends, is profile lighting or edge lighting, a creative way to hide your subject in the shadows or to create an eerie and dark scene, something that would work well for a video in the thriller or horror genre. To achieve this look, you're going to want to almost backlight your subject on the far side of your subject's face. You're going to want to have the light at about level with the subject, and depending on how hard you want shadows to appear, you can opt to use a standard hyperreflector or use a softbox with a grid to better control the spill of the light onto the rest of the scene. Add a few practical lights in the background, some eerie background music, and sound design, and you've got yourself a spooky shot. The fourth lighting scenario will continue in the realm of cinematic, creative, and dark lighting. Of course, we're talking about the silhouette shot. While it can be motivated naturally in a scene with a bright background such as an open doorway, it also works fantastically just being out of place. It all depends on the story you're trying to tell, and sometimes lighting isn't about logical motivation, but rather emotional motivation. Sometimes the lighting can be less about what the scene looks like, but more about what the subject is feeling. This look works incredibly well in many different genres, but it also works incredibly well for creative pieces like music videos. To achieve this look, you'll want to hide the light and the stand behind your subject. You'll want the light to be level with your subject, and I typically like to set this up by either utilizing just the bare bulb or throwing on a hyperreflector like I did in this shot. Then what really sells the effect is adding some haze to create atmosphere that the light can scatter and bounce through. Unfortunately, my haze machine ran out of haze liquid, so I fired up my Halloween fog machine, and while it doesn't look exactly how I want it to, I think it still looks pretty good. The fifth and last lighting scenario I want to share with you guys today would be imitating the sun or the moon. And in this shot, we're imitating sunlight coming through the blinds to the left of Annette. This helps create a warm feeling shot that we could take even further with a haze machine if we wanted to make those sunbeams visible. But to achieve this look outside of the window, we had our light mounted high on the stand and angled downwards. Now, typically I'd recommend using a hyperreflector for this shot to create a harder looking light source, but in this case, well, if I'm gonna be honest, I just kind of forgot to switch the modifiers, but I still think it looks pretty good. From there, you can use the blinds themselves to help shape the light. The beauty of creating your own sunlight is that you can move it around, so depending on if you're trying to get the light to fall on your subject or just on the back wall, you can make that creative decision. And as you can see, you can even do it at night. So next, let's talk a little bit about the light that I used to make this video. This is the SmallRig RC 450B, SmallRig's newly released light along with the RC 450D, RC 350B, and the RC 350D. In this video, we'll specifically be looking at the RC 450B, and in terms of build quality, I'm a big fan. It's got a plastic polymer body with your standard Bowens mount for attaching modifiers and a unique mounting point. The mount has your typical attachment points to mount the light to light stands and C-stands, as well as a crank that lets you tighten or loosen the pivot point to adjust the vertical angle of your light. But it also features something that I personally haven't seen on any other lights, and that's a quick release point. At first, I wasn't sure why it was really necessary, but now that I've used it, I can't really go back to a light without it. Swapping light modifiers, especially large softboxes, can be a downright pain, making me either have to completely remove the light from the stand or try my best as a one-man crew and attach a giant softbox on the Bowens mount while it's still attached to the stand. The long story short, this small little feature is actually just a really smart implementation, and I love this kind of stuff. On the back of the light fixture, you'll find the controls for the unit, including your brightness intensity knob, which gives you everywhere from 1% to 100%, your color temperature knob, which lets you choose between 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin, an effects button, which has 9 different effects built in, including paparazzi, TV, faulty bulb, lightning, breathe, party, flash, flame, and firework, as well as a frequency knob which lets you control the frequency or speed of the special effects. Optionally, you can also purchase a control panel from SmallRig so that you can more easily control the unit, whether it's from the front of the stand so you don't have to go all the way to the back of the light stand, or even mount it further away from the stand and closer to your camera operator or subject if you're recording yourself in a scenario like this where I'm filming a YouTube video. Of course, you can always opt to instead use their Small GoGo mobile app to control your SmallRig lights from your phone, which I'm a big fan of, especially if you have multiple lights from SmallRig. Now, I don't have the objective experience or testing to show you the performance and accuracy of the light quality from the unit, so I'll show you the specs on screen instead from SmallRig. I will say from my subjective experience of using the light and from my years of experience shooting with cob lights for videos, I'm a big fan of the light quality and what you can get out of this unit. A 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin color temperature range is a great range to work with, and unlike some of the more budget options I've worked with in the past from other brands, the color temperature actually looks accurate at each of the settings. There's also no jarring jump from 2700 Kelvin to 2800 Kelvin, nor is there a jarring jump from 6400 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. On a similar note, brightness or intensity of the light actually feels linear, where 1% output actually feels like a dim 1%. And as you turn up the intensity, it actually brightens as you'd intuitively expect. 50% output actually feels like 50%, 75% actually feels like 75%, and so on. The main reason I'm so excited for this light from SmallRig is that it's a solid competitor to the Aputure 600X and 600D, which is a powerhouse of a light that really delivers a lot of output. However, the reason why I never picked one up myself is because it's gonna run you $2,000. And don't get me wrong, Aputure makes amazing products with great build quality, but when SmallRig comes into the scene with a highly competitive product that costs half as much, you've got my attention. This light is a welcome addition to my lighting kit because now I can not only light up talking head shots with the SmallRig 220B that I reviewed previously in small rooms like this one, but I can also light up much bigger scenes with the SmallRig 450B. The only 2 drawbacks that I found during my time with the 450B has been that there's no option to power it using batteries, which makes it less portable than I'd like, and the fact that the fans are definitely on the louder side compared to my other lights. I get that this is a powerful light with a lot of heat it needs to dissipate, and I don't have any other lights at this size or power, so I don't have a proper frame of reference, but it is noticeably audible when you have it turned on in a quiet room. However, I am happy to report that the fan noise is at least a low frequency exhaust noise and not a high frequency whir or hum, making it a lot less intrusive to your audio recordings, but I still think it's something that's pretty important to note if you're considering the light. Otherwise though, I'm a big fan of the SmallRig 450B, and if you're in the market for a high power, high quality, but still budget friendly light from a company known for their build quality, you can find links in the description down below. Anyways, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed and even better, learned something from today's video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and get notified of when new videos are released. Let me know in the comment section down below on what you thought of the 5 lighting techniques we talked about today, or what your thoughts are on the SmallRig 450B. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.